Hey everybody. It's a Sunday. It's 2:30, which means I'm wasting more time. um, Sean, Sean Crosby here. And for the past couple weeks, while we've been isolated, I've been doing these sort of unboxing things for sort of Disney toys, Disney park toys. And of course, I'm all out of things in actual boxes because Disneyland's closed and I'm not made of money. And, I thought I'd kind of go through and see what I've got in my closet, as it were, what I've got on display in the other room, which, if I ever get it tidied enough, I might let you guys see it. I've been working on it the past couple days, trying to figure out what to do with all of these toys, which have collected over the past 20 years. Since the new movies came out, it got particularly crazy. So I thought that I thought that I would look at something that the Disney parks put out, which I thought was pretty cool. Back in the old days of Star Wars, in in the 70s, when Star Wars was new, uh, they released a fair number of toys that were pretty interesting. But you couldn't always get them as a kid. You didn't always have money. I was 10 years old. I had almost no money. And so when certain things came out, like the giant Sandcrawler that Disney came out with, I thought, well, someday I'll own that. Kenner actually came out with it in the 70s. And I thought, well, someday I'll own that. And then, you know, you grow up, you don't need so many toys, things like that. And then you reach a certain point where you're kind of like trying to reclaim all of that. And then Disney, because they own Star Wars now and they've got a huge presence in their parks, came out with this monstrous thing, which is probably about 3 times as big as the one that they came out with in the 1970s. Now, that one was remote controlled. It had almost no paint detail on it that I recall. It was just a big brown plastic slab, but you could drive it around. I think the one at that point was one of the ones that you had a button to make it go forward, and then you had a button to make it go backwards, and when it backed up, it like made a J turn to the left, which was most of the cheapo RC toys that we had back in the day. Now we have all these really great, fully proportional, omnidirectional RC cars that are about $10 at the toy store, which is super cool because you can take them, and maybe I'll show you this later. I have one of these too. You can take a car and you can gut it, and you can put its electronics on the underside of your land speeder and drive it around. Which we could never do when we were kids. It was like remote control cars were about this big. They were huge, and they were the size of like the mouse droids and whatnot in Star Wars, which were basically a remote control car with a cool robot body on them. But eventually, within the past couple of years, Disney came out with this thing, this big gigantic thing that you could only get at their theme parks. And I have to tell you, getting it from like Tomorrowland to your car is a challenge because the box it came in, if you remember when we did the unboxing of the DJ Rex a couple of weeks ago, the box was about the same. It's add like 4 inches to all of this, and it's huge. And so trying to get that out of a theme park like Disneyland is really tough. Were it Target or something, it would be less of a problem. You throw it in your cart, you wheel it to your car. It's not a big deal. Anyway, I was super impressed by this. It was kind of on my list to get, and Disney periodically marks things down, which is great. And this was something I felt like I had to pick up. Now, I haven't done anything to this yet. I tend to modify all my toys. I repaint them and things like that. But I've done nothing to this yet. So what you're seeing is pretty much how it comes out of the box. Although I did fill it with junk robots. Hi, Laura and Merle and Nick. Hey, Nick. Andrew's here. Cool. I'm just kind of looking over. I can't. Did I ever mention I'm blind as a bat? So I can't see our comments over there. I gotta go stop and take a look. Yeah, so there was one Jawa playset that was kind of affordable that Sears had, and then some of the toy stores I think had it after that. But it was a base that looked like sand, and it was a cardboard Sandcrawler that was like a backdrop that you would put your figures on and whatnot. And that was fun. And in fact, I think I found somebody online. Somebody posted it online so that you can print it on your own printer, glue it to cardboard, and recreate it. I think they later used that sand base for a snow base, and then they put a Walker backdrop on it for The Empire Strikes Back. They just did the base in white plastic instead of tan plastic. So it didn't look like sand, it looked more like snow. Then they put a Walker behind it because they knew we would still buy it. And it worked. It worked out great. It had like a little cave molded into it and a couple little playthings. And probably best, it had pegs on it that you could mount the action figures on so that they would stand up. So first things first here, I guess. The dimensions of this thing are 20 inches long, and it's 8 inches wide, and it's 9.5 inches tall. So that's a pretty sizable toy. It's, you know, a couple of stacked shoe boxes basically. It's a pretty big thing. It comes with a single action figure, which is this guy. So it comes with a Jawa. But the thing about this Jawa is that he's a little big for a Jawa. He's not quite in scale with this because these treads should be about 4 times the size that they are. Of course, they have to scale it down because it's a toy, and what can you do? And I've got some sort of robots out in front here, and you can see that they're way taller than they should be in comparison to what this thing ought to be. And the actual shooting model, the remote control shooting model that they used, which was only finished on like the right side and the front and the back. They didn't do the other side at all. They didn't do like the port side of it because no one was going to see it in the movie, so they never finished that part of it. That actual shooting model is about this tall. Can't really, I'm out of camera. So it's really tall, and it's about this long. It's like really huge. This gigantic thing that they drive around, and it shows up in the museum exhibits from time to time. And that's the toy we all really want, honestly, right? It would fit the action figures better, but then none of us would have room to store it. So so they've got this little guy. He has no peg holes in his feet, which is okay because there are no pegs on this anywhere. You can stand a figure on it, but you can't plug a figure into it, which is really kind of weird because I'm used to having all of those cool, you know, all the cool options to plug these things in. So the first thing about this is it has lights and sounds. It's got a bunch of buttons in the back, and there's a Try Me feature on the package that you can push buttons and see, and it lights up and things. One of the things I didn't realize till I brought it out to kind of show everybody with the power on is that apparently it has either an impact or a motion sensor that if you pick it up and you move it and you set it down, it makes like rumbling noises. So I think as long as you keep it rumbling, it will keep making rumbling noises. As long as you roll it back and forth. That's kind of cool. But also kind of annoying if you're just picking it up. Now, there is a command center / you know, cockpit or bridge up here that that you can kind of see. So you can see that there's one in there, and I'll give you a little bit of a better look at that later on. But first, let's do the inside. So this whole side panel pops down, and you can see I've already filled it with all sorts of junk droids, you know. So we needed to do that. And that's just going to make noise like the whole time. And then there's an elevator on the side facing me that you can raise and lower, which I'll show you a little later. And then there's a bin over here that's labeled in Orabesh. It says trash. But if you put something in the trash, it just kind of rolls out the front, which is sort of funny. So this bin over here, and then back here, see if I can get in there. There's like a balcony thing over here in the back. You can put your Jawas in, or more junk droids. And it's basically all space. This entire thing is all space, and you can hear me trying to move it around. It's kind of ungainly to move around. It has a switch on the bottom here, which I'm going to turn off so that we can move it around. There we go. It won't be so noisy. So that's the side part, which I'll leave open maybe for some light. And then in the front here, the front has a gangway in the front. And then it's got a crane for droid lifting. Basically, you know, whatever will fit in the claw. Now, the way the claw works, Disney has their own droid set, which is called Droid Builders, and you can build these droids in Disneyland and Walt Disney World in their Tatooine Trader or in the Star Trader. It's a big bin, and you go and you pull parts and you build your own droid, and the droids all come apart. You can choose a head, you choose legs and things. I have a whole bunch of them that are very mismatched parts because we were at the premiere of Star Wars Episode 7, and they had one of these droid builder tables, and so we all kind of like built these droids pretty quickly out of parts, but none of the parts really match. So the droids are very mismatched parts, which makes them perfect for being in the Jawa Sandcrawler, I think. But the way the toys are designed, the droids are designed, is they all have a peg hole in the top. And so you can actually take the claw, you can insert them into the droid, and there's your, there's your droid conveyance. You can drag the thing up into here. You can't seem to raise and lower the cable on it, which would be pretty cool, because otherwise you're just going to drag it up into the thing. But whatever works, I guess. It's only a toy, as they say. Take a minute over here and scan some of the comments. Brent was saying he had the cardboard one, which was cool. And Lara says the Jawa is so big because he was raised by humans. I don't think that's how that works, Lara. I don't think you get taller if you're raised by humans. And then TKD S66 brings up something that I had thought about when I saw this, which was, if you've seen The Mandalorian, and you should have by now, there is no excuse to not have seen what everybody is lovingly calling the Baby Yoda show. There's a really great sequence that features a giant sandcrawler like this. And so I'm waiting for sort of a Mandalorian branded version of this, which has some of the modifications to that. But yeah, of course, if you have a bunch of Jawas, you can add them to the thing. But the difficulty is there are no pegs anywhere. for these guys to stand up on. So these are extraneous Jawas that I've already had. And then this is the other guy who is kind of big. And so these guys are also made out of the typical action figure kind of plastic. It's that sort of soft, slightly oily plastic. This guy's a little different. He's like a hard plastic. It's really weird. So it's an interesting choice from Disney. He's got mild articulation in his arms, but they can't go down to his sides. That's not a possibility. But I appreciate that they at least included one figure with it. So you kind of need a driver, right? And all of these guys, of course, can lots of room for Jawas. So I'm going to turn the power back on. And there are settings. There's a try me setting, and there's an on setting. So here's the on setting, which makes all the noise. Like that. And then there's one button that I think it just turns on the lights. I think it does no sound, but if you want the lights on, there you go. You can kind of see that they're on in there. You can definitely see that they light up the whole cockpit. And the entire cockpit has control panels and things like that inside, which are kind of cool. And there's enough room for Jawas. I guess if we throw our big Jawa in there, he pretty much takes up most of it. But we've got a couple of guys in there, not too bad. But pegs, people, put pegs on them. So there's one button that just turns on the lights, and it doesn't do anything on the inside of it. Again, maybe see the lights a little bit better. It's just enough to be interesting. And then for interior stuff, there's 4 more buttons back here, and all of these buttons are located along the back. They sort of look like tail lights. And so this is the quiet one that does the lights. And then this one makes a lot of Jawa sounds. I don't know what they're saying. I think they're swearing. Not really sure. This third button makes lots of like grinding noises. It doesn't seem to have any light effects with that one. And then this fourth one. And the fourth one lots of droid noises from the movie. Now, I thought there was something in here. Oh, I see. We got a couple of lights at the front that I didn't notice. Can you see the lights down at the bottom there? Those are pretty cool. Let me try the lights off again. There we go. So right at the bottom have these cool lights. And then it's supposed to have, there's a furnace in here that is supposed to light up. And I don't see anything lighting it up yet. So that could just be me, because I'm lame and I haven't figured it out yet. Alright, so there's a couple of buttons on the side here. One is up and one is down. And so I'm going to hit the down button, and you'll see the elevator lower. Which is pretty cool. And let's see, let's find a... Here, I got an R2 unit over here. We'll shove him in there. Works pretty well. It doesn't quite fit, but he mostly does. But any droid taller than R2 is going to be a tough fit. Uh-oh. There he goes. It looks like he's stuck. Alright, so there's a very fine tolerance for getting your droid in and out of this thing. Let's try it again. Okay, that was better. So presumably, because he went down, he should be able to go up. So, you know, not bad as an action feature. Pretty cool. Anyway, this thing's monstrously huge, and but you know, if you have lots of droid parts and Jawas, think of it like an action figure case. You even get some of the old school guys in there. All right, I'm gonna pull my debris out here because, like I said, there's a light in here that I haven't been able to figure out. And let's see if I can show you how deep in here I can get this camera. Let me get rid of our extra droids here in the trash bin. There we go. I'm not entirely sure. You see, there's like a furnace back there. It's yellow and orange. It looks like it should light up, right? I feel like it should light up. And I haven't been able to figure that out. But I don't know. It could just be a sticker. Oh, wait. Ah, I found another button. There we go. Let's see if I can do that again. Well, there we go. So there's a feature I didn't even know it had. Done a lot of interesting stuff with this. So the switch is located here on the bottom, right down here, and you have to take it off of Try Me or it doesn't work right. The treads don't move or turn or do anything fancy. They just have rolly wheels on them, although one of them, I feel, is connected to a switch. So let's see here. If I put it on, and I roll these, there we go, it's this one. So this front one will activate the switch. The rest of them, they don't matter at all. And then all the buttons back here, of course. That's kind of the best one. Anyway, it was a neat toy, and it certainly takes up a lot of shelf space. We'll have to see how hard it is to keep uh, dusted. But anyway, for somebody like me who's a Star Wars fan and a Disney fan, and always needs a place to keep action figures, it's pretty neat. And as far as a toy that I've always kind of wanted since I was a little kid, well, that's a pretty good one too. And it's kind of nice that Disney's keeping that alive. You know, they're bringing out things. I think the next one that I'm gonna do will be the Star Speeder 3000 from. Actually, I guess technically it's a Star Speeder 1000 because it's the red one. But Disney actually made a pretty nice one of that. It's equally large to this, and also has lots of cool action features to it. So, toys at Disney have a tendency to be way too expensive on the surface of them. But honestly, this toy here, which if it's not on sale, I think it's about $90 or $100. This is about what you would pay at Target or Walmart or whatever. And in compare, like I remember the Millennium Falcon was reissued. It was about $125, which seemed like a lot, especially if you lived through the 1970s when the Millennium Falcon was like $25 or $30. But you know, inflation being what it is, it's just kind of a weird thing. And you can't really compare the prices of the 70s to the prices now. But you know, it's a pretty neat toy. There's a huge part of me though that hopes that a lot of these get into the hands of kids who go and play with them, not and fewer adults like me. But this will probably get a repaint at some point, and I'll do proper detail on it. I have some really good pictures in some of my books of the actual Sandcrawler model. And I think it's also one of those things that would be pretty fun to be able to make like a remote control vehicle or something like that. And that's way down the road if I ever decide to do something like this. And one of the interesting things about being sequestered the way we are is that in a lot of cases, a lot of projects, I get an idea for something and I just like run out and get the parts and do it. Not so much. Everything's kind of going on a list right now, and it's all based on things that I've got laying around the house and whatnot. Like I talked about painting Captain Rex or DJ Rex now, and I guess I could probably go to the hardware store and I could get paint. But is it an essential trip? Not really. So am I going to? Probably not. Unless I find myself there for something that I really need, it's a really important trip, it's going to have to wait. So, you know, in the meantime, though, excuse me, we've got cool stuff like this to show off, which is kind of fun. But I'll tell you, that one movement noise, though, that's going to get old. Let's see, I'm going to take a quick roll through the comments here. Hi, Christina. And Josh was saying that he's got the Mandalorian on right now. Very nice. And Daniel, yeah, the price I think was about $100 unless you've got an annual pass and you can find it on sale. I buy almost everything I can on sale because I'm a big cheap turkey. But if you see it and you don't think they're going to have it for long, you might want to grab it. And if you know someone who works at Disney, sometimes they get stuff like this in their what do you call it, Company D store, broken ones. And Disney's got a pretty light tolerance for broken. Sometimes the box is just mashed in and things like that. But you have to have a friend who kind of works there. Let's see. Hi, Andy. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's me and it's playing with Star Wars toys, and here I am, 52 years old, playing with Star Wars toys. But you know, some of them are fun, and some of them I never thought I would see. There was no reason to make this guy except to have parked in front of a Sandcrawler. This was like an R1 series droid, and we We never saw him anywhere else in the movie for the most part, except that one scene was like his one claim to fame. And yeah, things have really changed. The articulation on some of these has changed. We had these guys back in 1980, 81, the medical droids and whatnot, and they had removable arms, but they were cheap white plastic with no articulation. This one's got like 20 arms on it, and they're all articulated. It's really kind of nuts. Kenner's kind of backslid though. They used to do really neat articulated figures, like when I showed the Star Wars the Rise of the Resistance pod last week. I had to go find some figures that actually had knee articulation because most of them don't. And for a while they were really doing that and making their figures really amazing. And now they've split them. There's the ones that are like the ones we had as kids that have no articulation. It's like shoulders, legs, and head. And then they have more expensive ones that have like 14 points of articulation. Do you have a turtle?
I do have a turtle.
Colleen has a turtle. This is Gamera. Gamera is our turtle. Say hi, Gamera. Hi. Gamera's like, what? What are you doing?
Look, you keep showing me off on videos.
I know. Well, it's because we love... Gamera's almost 20, I think. I think I figured that right. And we didn't know she was a girl until like 4 or 5 years in, because our vet, who was the turtle expert, didn't know she was a girl until 4 or 5 years in. So we had some pronoun changes that happened in the house. But yeah, anyway, I guess, Andy, we're totally still gigantic big kids at heart, and you know, I think we kind of need that sort of more than ever. You know, I drive a Star Wars car, and that's like my biggest Star Wars toy. It's really fun. Hey, Frank. Frank says that the sand... Well, okay, Frank says too fat, and I hope Frank is talking about the Sandcrawler and not me. It may be too fat. That could be true. I am too fat, definitely. That's the case. And yeah, the Lego minifigs would be way too big. And all sorts of fun stuff. Bobbit in Jawa. That sounds scary, because you know I always think of like Lorena Bobbitt, and I don't want to go there. But anyway, yeah, there was a 2-1B droid in there. That Star Speeder was, I think, pretty limited. They didn't have it too bad, and Josh was saying that definitely Company D will send something there that has a box 2 bashed in to sell, and that's how you want to pick stuff up. But you need to have friends on the inside. They do a friends and family thing in August, which was pretty neat, and I got to do that and was pretty grateful. But yeah, you have to be careful. And then cool, Cindy and Nick and Laura and Aubrey and Josh, and yeah, we're just dorking out, because I'm a Disney Star Wars dork. This right here, this explains it all. It combines them both, right?
What explains it all?
This, it's like everything, like, right? It's Star Wars and it's Disney, and it's, you know.
Where's me?
Where's you? You're with me in on this.
Okay.
Duh.
I don't think that exactly explains everything.
You
but...
you were not my hobby. You were my life. There's a difference.
Okay.
This is my hobby. This is my life, or wife, as it were.
I'm behind the 94.
I know, you can't see her face. You're like Wilson and.
I heard you say, this
Home
explains
Improvement.
it all, and I had to come and look and see what explained it all.
Yeah. No. She's my life. This is my hobby. I'm interested in her too, but in a very different way. All right, guys. Thanks for killing some time with me. We'll figure out something to do next week. You can watch our Twitch show and on twitch.tv/docking_bay_94. We do that every Thursday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and have been for 8 years we've been on the radio. The radio side of things is at kryptonradio.com. It's that little bug in the corner there. That's what that's all about. I broadcast from 9 to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, doing music and geek stuff and history and that kind of thing. Whatever strikes me. But that's at kryptonradio.com, Monday through Friday from 9 to 11 Pacific time. It's noon to 2 Eastern time. And yeah, and then we're doing this just for giggles, just to give us something to do. And I'm glad that you guys hung out with me. Have a great one, and stay safe and stay well. And I'll see you later on.